Hi friends, happy Monday, August 16th. I wanted to jump on really quickly and give you a summary of our board meeting. I want to give you a warning that this is going to be a little bit of a long one because there was a lot of detail brought out, and I want to make sure that I get out in front of what my votes were. I know it was a little confusing at the last meeting because a lot of items were put together, and so I'll be really clear about what my position was and what action the board took as a whole. So first off, I want to clarify my position as a TUSD board member and Pima County Board of Supervisors. When we were voting on the K-12 mask mandate at our previous meeting on the 10th, I said that I voted in favor of this item in TUSD, and I obviously will be voting in favor here. Some people took that as I have some sort of conflict. I want to be very clear that I have no legal or moral conflict. I am completely in favor of requiring masks in our schools. I voted in favor of it at our last meeting, and I voted in favor of it in this meeting. Unfortunately, that item did not pass, but I just want to be very clear about that position. One of the big items that we voted on, which passed 4-1, was opposition to I-11, and specifically the western route that would do a lot of damage to our beautiful Sonoran Desert, and so that item passed 4-1. Basically what it is we're just signing on a letter stating our opposition as a board. We started talking about COVID. And so just to give you an idea of when we lifted the emergency resolution as a board about a month ago, we had 222 cases in all of Pima County. We now have, about a month later, nearly 1,400 cases. So that's 6 times the number of people that are struggling with being positive for COVID in a relatively short period of time. And so to highlight that, some additional information, our schools have opened up, and since July 20th, we've had 489 cases that have happened in our K-12 schools. So what that means is that a child came on campus and was not feeling well and was sent to the nurse's office and was tested, or somebody went home, their child wasn't feeling well, they were tested, found to be positive, and then the school was notified. Either way, 141 schools across several districts are working with the Pima County Health Department to continue to update numbers. So of those 489, the vast majority, 84%, were children. The 16% were staff. And so 0 to 11 years of age, we've had 219 cases thus far, and 12 to 19-year-olds, 208 cases. All of those children had the opportunity to be vaccinated. I'm concerned about both of these numbers, but I'm especially concerned for our children. We saw very few pediatric cases, but right now in our pediatric ICU in Pima County, we have 6 cases, 4 confirmed, 2 were waiting on the test, but 6 children in our ICU beds that are struggling with COVID or COVID-like symptoms. And so amongst those school districts, across 141 schools, we have 15 classroom closures and 25 outbreaks. So I think it's important that we understand that the school districts that are choosing not to have a mask mandate, these are, we just received word from the Maricopa courts that they are supporting the mask mandate for Phoenix Union. That was the first school district that came out in mandating mask use, and then we've since then had, I believe we're up to 16 schools and school districts that have opted to put in a mask mandate. So that ruling basically gives the authority of the school districts to do everything they can to protect their children. And so for those districts that are still waiting, I hope that this gives you the legal backing that you'd like to have in order to make those changes. And just so I make it very clear, at last Tuesday's meeting, August 10th, we had no children in the pediatric ICU, and we now have 6. And so it's a very changing, the changing conditions in Pima County are pretty significant. And so we also had an item on mask mandates, and it's really valuable when we have universal masking. That item was voted down 3-2, with myself and Supervisor Hines voting in favor of a mask mandate, but that failed. We did vote in support of school districts, and specifically the item reads, regarding county assistance to local school district boards who require K-12 masks for students, teachers, and staff. And this item really provides legal expertise, health expertise for those districts that find themselves in the position where they may be fighting in court, that Pima County is going to share the load with you, either sign on as a defendant specifically. So that item actually passed 4-1 with Supervisor Christie voting no. So I was really happy to see that, because we want to provide as much support as possible to our schools. So regarding vaccines, we had there was an item for mandatory vaccines for healthcare workers. That item was continued to September 7th because we did receive an executive order from the governor. All of these things were happening during the meeting that basically stated that no city or county could mandate vaccines. And so we wanted to get some additional information before we voted on this item. There's some legal opinion that this may prohibit the county from being able to do anything regarding vaccines, because it is an executive order, not the law that was previously passed that would go into effect on September 29th. So incentives for county employees. What we were really pushing for is to incentivize our employees to get a vaccine. And what passed 3-2 with Supervisor Hines and Supervisor Christie voting no is we are going to incentivize our county employees, that they're eligible for a $300 incentive, and that goes for every county employee, whether you do it now or whether you did it at the very beginning, that when you had the option. It's $300 for all employees, and that you receive additional 3 days of leave. So that's really the incentive. The disincentives we're going to be talking about on September 7th. So on September 7th, we'll get an update. Right now, what I thought was incredibly telling is that 27% of our departments in Pima County have over 75% of those departments are fully vaccinated. So a lot of them are in the teens, and some of them, I think we had one that was 8%. What's most disturbing to me is many of those departments are ones that work directly with the public. And so I'm hoping to see more and more of that increase happening. And let's see, we are continuing to meet virtual. That item was voted on 4-1 with Supervisor Scott voting no. He wanted to come in person. One of the issues that we have is that we can't socially distance on the dais. And so every supervisor would have to wear their mask, which was not a concern for me, but that was a concern for one of my colleagues. And the other requirement is that everyone coming in would have to wear a mask. And so that item did not pass. I did ask for information, some additional information. We had an item that had an expenditure of about $4.5 million for security. And so this is an outsourced contract. We also had an item that was about $15 million for custodial contracts between two different outside contracts. And so that's almost $20 million. And what I asked from our county administrator is to get information about the benefits, the salary, and find out what that cost would be if we were to bring those employees in-house. I would like to advocate for that as much as possible. One of the data points that really concerned me was that 16 cases have been reported in the last 3 weeks of county employees that have tested positive for COVID. 80% of those occurred in vaccinated employees. So that means that we're continuing to be exposed. If you have received either the Johnson & Johnson or Pfizer, studies have shown that Moderna is much more effective against this Delta variant. But I would like to note that we have had the Lambda variant is now in the United States. We've had 152 cases as of yesterday in California, and we also have cases in Texas, and I didn't have that number. But none of the vaccines are currently working against the Lambda variant. And so this is going to continue. We're going to continue to have variants. We're going to continue to have this issue because we still have people in our community that are refusing to be vaccinated. I understand the concern. I understand where we are as a community. I hear people saying, it's my my choice. I can decide or not decide. The unfortunate part is many of those people that are opting not to get vaccinated are continuing to live their life as if we are not in the middle of a pandemic. And what's happening is it's impacting those of us who cannot be vaccinated, or those of us that are fully vaccinated, and these variants are just we're having more and more breakthrough cases. So we will be talking about disincentives at the next meeting, and I did want to make sort of read a statement, because I said it during the board meeting, but it is unfortunate that some in our community can't share the concern and, quite frankly, the fear that most of us face regarding the sharp increase in cases of COVID. We have an alarming number of children that are getting COVID and are testing positive. This pandemic should have been an opportunity for our community to come together and unite and to fight to get back to whatever our new normal is going to look like. But unfortunately, we have some of us that are continuing to fight against the bare minimum, which is wearing a mask. And so I will continue to support mask requirements in all of our county buildings. That is a requirement now in our K-12 schools, and we have to do everything we can to protect our neighbors. Please stay safe out there, friends. If any of you know anyone who can't find a vaccine, there is an opportunity. There's a hotline number. You can reach out to us directly here at District 5 at pima.gov. We have to do everything that we can to make our community as safe as possible for those of us who just want to be part of getting our community together. I'm very concerned that we are not going to make it through this school year with our students in person if these numbers continue the way they are. And I'm worried that we're going to be put in some really scary health situations. So stay safe, my friends. Thanks for paying attention to Pima County Politics.